You are watching the Weekend Sports Kickoff right here on KNWT, Channel 8. And welcome into the Weekend Sports Kickoff. I'm Devin Albertson, joined by Ryan, Jacob, and Trevor. Got everybody's names right today. This is a great start to the show.
It's like 2 weeks in a row now.
I know, I'm on a roll.
This is Brandon, Jonathan, and Terry.
We don't know who those guys are.
And if you're not listening on the radio, of course, because we're only on TV today through KNWT Channel 8's Facebook Live. Thanks to our producer, Joe, and the associate producer, Caleb. I want to thank them for putting this on for us, as we have somewhere to talk to. Like, people can actually find us a little bit.
Yeah.
Even with the baseball game going on right now, which is Kramer and Austin over there calling that one. So if you do want to listen to the baseball game, 106.7 FM is where you're going to find that here in Maryville. And I think right now the baseball team is up 4-1 on Northeastern State, so the 8th inning. So if you want to catch the end of that game, definitely there. If you want to stick with us, it's even better, in my opinion, because I think we're pretty awesome.
Wow.
So no offense to Kramer.
Just shooting down our baseball coverage.
I don't know if it's better, but I don't know that it's worse either.
As it's time to talk about Northwest Missouri State, we're going to start actually with Buck Scheel, as he resigned from the women's basketball coach earlier this week, and just kind of our thoughts on him stepping down and where they're going to go from here.
I don't know about you guys, but I didn't see it coming. It was kind of a surprise to me.
I didn't necessarily see it coming, but I wouldn't say that I was surprised. They certainly didn't step back from when Buck Scheel took over, but it didn't seem like they took enough steps forward to warrant keeping him around for another year. And that just, to me, is now all of a sudden it's just a new opportunity for this women's basketball team.
Yeah, I think it's going to be extremely important to go find a good coach to help this team make the next step. We kind of saw at the end of the season they started to gel a little bit better. They made some steps, but with the resignation, it looks like maybe they didn't feel like, or he didn't feel like he could get this team where they needed to be.
And my thing was, I know he was only the head coach for 2.5 years, and one of the program that he got was not in good shape at the moment. I mean, Coach Smith, he did not leave this program in good standing whenever he left. So Buck Scheel had to kind of mold the team a little bit, and they got young fast. Like they knew coming into this year they were going to be a young team. They had a lot of freshmen coming in and playing right away, which I thought he would get another year, because I thought like Jalen Haggard, all that young talent they had, see what he could do with maybe an offseason to mold these people a little bit more, these girls a little bit more. But right now, Heather Howard's is going to be the interim head coach until they find someone to be the full-time replacement.
Yeah, to me it was just kind of interesting because I almost feel like he didn't quite get enough time. Was it 2 full seasons and about half a season as the interim? Yeah. So in a while, they started 5 freshmen at one point this season, which were all players he had gone out and recruited. We were just kind of starting to get to that cycle of seeing his players, and they showed promise this year. Unfortunately, like you said, a young team still kind of trying to find their rhythm and experience in college basketball, and it just didn't work out this year.
And as you said, with all the young players, the coach coming in is going to have a lot to work with, because I think he recruited decently well, especially with Jalen Haggard, the co-freshman of the year. That's a nice building block to work off. And then still Mallory McAndrews will be a senior next year. She's a good shooter. So they still have pieces here to work off of. They're going to lose Tanya Meyer, of course. That's a lot of production there out of the post. But I think they have a good chance to, as next coach, if you just go hover around 500 in this conference is really difficult. So I think that's one of the things looking forward to is you're not going to go from bottom of the conference to top of the conference in a year. It's going to take time to build the program like this, and just be patient with the coach, because there's been so much turnover with this girls program over the past 5 years.
And I think you look at the different types of athletes, of girls that they have on this team. They kind of have all their bases covered at this point. You've got a girl that can be an elite scorer in Jalen Haggard, who can also handle the basketball. You've got Mallory McAndrews, who has the shot from the outside, and then you've got a girl like Macy Williams, who sat on the bench this year. And it just, I think you find that, and Macy can step out and be a leader of this basketball team. She's been here. She knows, she's seen this program through a lot of things, and I think her big role is going to be to lead this young group of girls coming up and to kind of take charge of this basketball team.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you also have Keilani Mayava, who stepped in nicely the post this year. She'll be the senior starter next year down the post. So you get Kylie Coleman, Zoe Hayward, and some others, Maria Detlinger. So there's some base talent on this team. Of course, Mallory McConkey as well. So, and we'll see who they're going to recruit and come in as well. Maybe some new freshmen can help install some more energy in this group too. But I think it's in a good shape for someone to come in and be able to jumpstart it a little bit and be quicker than some people think for a rebuild to get back to middle of the conference, and at least be a little more competitive more consistently. I think that was the biggest thing with they would have one games where they almost beat UCO, who was ranked top 25 in the nation. The next game, they just lay a dud. And it's just like consistency wasn't there, and you're going to have that with a young team. So I think he kind of it was kind of a struggle there late in that in his tenure there. But we're going to transition from Scheel to, of course, the Central Region Tournament that's happening this weekend in Maryville. Of course, the first games this weekend will be at Saturday at noon. Southern Nazarene, the 3 seed versus St. Cloud. The 2 seed will follow Northern State versus Washburn, the 2-7 matchup. That's session 1. Session 2, got the number 1 seed Northwest Missouri State hosting Minnesota State Mankato, the 8 seed. That game will start at 6 o'clock, and then it's about 8:15 of Southwest Minnesota State versus Missouri Southern, the 4-5 matchup. So this is a very tough regional right here with Northwest. Even if they win this first game versus Mankato, Joey Wittes' old team, you still have Southwest Minnesota State, who was last year in this regional championship game, and Missouri Southern, who's beat Northwest 3 of the last 4 times they've played them. So this is a tough bracket for Northwest.
Absolutely. I think this shows how strong the NSIC is, because there's an NSIC team in every game.
Yeah.
And B, I think you look at top to bottom. I think, Coach McCullum has said this multiple times, top to bottom, this is probably the best region in Division II. And I think that's 100% true, because you look at Northwest at 1, but then all of a sudden you have this Southern Nazarene team who's only lost 2 games this year. They're kind of unproven. They didn't play in a very good conference, but nobody really knows. Northern State, who climbed to the top of what has been known as one of the better basketball conferences in the country, especially involving Augustana, involving Mankato, who's been good. You talk about Southwest Minnesota State, played in that regional championship game last year. So I think you look at the scale of this region, the tiers of this region. You've got those top 3 seeds, and then you look at 4 and 5 and 6, and really all the way down between Southwest Minnesota State, Southern, Washburn, St. Cloud. These are all good basketball teams. Even the 8 seed Mankato, who kind of snuck in there at the end. These are all dangerous basketball teams. These are all teams that have a lot of talent. And I think if we weren't at Northwest Missouri State right now, we would be saying just about anybody can win this region.
Hey, could you see that? Because I want to jump on this. Northwest is ranked 5th in the latest coaches poll. Northern State's 6th. Southern Nazarene was 8, and Southwest Minnesota State got votes. So that's your top 4 teams, right? That didn't even include Missouri Southern, who's beaten Northwest 3 or 4 times in the last couple of years. So it's a really, really tough regional.
Yeah, and the one key thing, though, to this regional is where it's being played. And that's inside Bearcat Arena, just a little bit away from where we are right now. And that is going to be the key for Northwest. I know their home winning streak was broken by Missouri Southern, but Bearcat Arena is a great place to play, and the fans are going to come out for the 2 games are this weekend, and then you've got the championship game if they can get there on Tuesday. But
Right.
That's going to be the key for Northwest, because when you look at Division II as a whole, last year you kind of looked at Northwest going, okay, this is clearly the favorite for the national champion. This year you look all throughout Division II, and I don't know if there's a clear team that you can say they're probably going to be in that championship game.
Well, and I'll point to that real quick with even this region. I think, let's be honest, the 4 of us are a little bit biased. We go to this university, but I think if we didn't go to Northwest Missouri State and we looked at this region, I don't know that we'd be saying Northwest is a clear favorite. I think they are a favorite, and they are the favorite in this region, but it's not as clear as I think we see it and everybody on campus sees it. This is a very good region, and there is just about equal opportunity for every team in this region.
And that's where the only reason Northwest is the favorite is because it's being played here in Maryville.
It wouldn't surprise when I look at this bracket. Wouldn't surprise me if any one of the top 5 teams ends up getting out of here. I mean, Washburn can kind of create some matchup problems for people, so who knows with them. But when you look at that top half, that's tough, man.
So we're going to take a break. When we come back, we got D'Vante Mosby talking Bearcat basketball next here on the Weekend Sports Kickoff. As we are back on the Weekend Sports Kickoff, I'm Devin Albertson, joined by Ryan Elliott, Trevor Mater, and our special guest, D'Vante Mosby, was on the basketball team last year, part of the national championship team. And D'Vante, how are you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing good, Dev. How are you?
I'm doing just fine here as we're ready for the Central Regional Tournament to kick off tomorrow. But before we go to that, let's talk about last year a little bit and you guys making that run to the national championship game, and just what was it like to go through the 3 games here in front of this home crowd in Maryville? I'm sure it's going to be the same way this weekend. Just how much energy you guys feed off this crowd here in Maryville?
It was electric. To say that's an understatement. I think anyone who was there last year for the first round game saw that there's probably a little bit too much energy running through Bearcat basketball because we almost lost the first game. But it was so fun. Maryville did what Maryville does, and they just showed up. They were super loud, super enthusiastic, and the whole city kind of shut down for the games. It was awesome.
And how much of that experience from that team last year do you think carries over into this season with the feeling that we've been here before?
We talk about it all the time at the house. It's just the culture around Bearcat basketball. It kind of goes to where you just hop in the system and you give all that you have, and that's all you have to focus on. Everything else will take care of itself so long as you're giving max effort and preparing well. So it always transfers over because even the red shirts last year know what it takes to be a Bearcat, and they stepped in this year. As you see Ryan Hawkins doing what he's doing. Derek Lang, he works extremely hard. No one sees it, but he works harder than just about anyone on the team. And it's just kind of a system that you just hop in, and all you have to worry about is giving max effort. So
last year when you guys stepped on the court for the first round of the regionals and the crowd is going nuts and it's loud, how hard was it for you or your teammates to tell yourself, okay, this is just another game, let's just go about it as we would in the regular season?
That first game was really tough, and not so much when we first stepped out there. It was everything that was leading up to that entire week, because you have a full week of practice, which is not what you normally have. You usually have 2 games a week, every week, at the least one. But it was just, they're setting up the gym as you're practicing. Other teams are coming in, looking in the door, watching you, waiting to get their time in the gym. You got countless texts, and you got to get everybody tickets before the game, and everybody's just buzzing around, and it just changes the flow of everything. But after having that this year, I think we're ready.
And then 2,200 people come up.
Yeah.
And it's just super loud and exciting, and the energy is just off the roof. Out of the roof.
And that's one thing you want to talk about is that you look at hosting a region is not something that everybody just gets to do every year. It's not something that it's not a normal thing for a program, for a team, for a city. It's not a normal thing.
And all summer last year, especially with the years prior, that was our main goal. Obviously, you got to win the regular season, but all summer long we were like, host. We have to host. Because going up to Sioux Falls and playing Augie at their place and having to beat them to get out of the region, it's just so tough.
Yep.
And it's like, if you want a chance at winning the national championship, you got to make your bed earlier and host the region. And with that being the first time, it was super tough.
And, of course, talking about hosting the region, the first game is against Minnesota State Mankato. Of course, that's where Joey Witt is transferred from. Have you had any discussion around the team about him playing his former team? Any jokes going around at Joey playing against his old team, or has it kind of been pretty just like, hey, just Northwest versus Mankato?
It's going to be business as usual. The cool part about this is that Joey has just bought in so much to the culture that you'd have never thought that he transferred. He just gives all that he has for the team, and obviously I know that he's going to have a chip on his shoulders. But as far as we go, as far as the team goes, they're coming to our place, so we got to handle our business.
And how does Joey keep his hair so perfect during games? I never understood that, how he keeps his hair just like that the entire game.
I don't know. Joe's a smooth dude overall. There's many questions that you would ask about Joey, like how does Joey do that? How does Joey do that?
I have to say one thing. I've been to several games now, taking pictures for my sports photography class. Mm-hmm. And in every single picture I take of Joey, he has got some crazy face on.
Yeah.
Every single – it doesn't matter what he's doing. He could be standing.
Yeah.
Just standing, waiting for an inbound or something.
Yeah.
He's still making some crazy face every time I take a picture.
Yeah.
I think we can blame Michael Jordan for that. I think he's kind of the reason every kid ever does that now.
He's got interesting finishing faces too.
Yeah.
Us basketball players have interesting finishing faces and sounds. Be on the lookout for those.
So talk about what it's like now, kind of being on the outside, not being a player. Does it feel kind of weird? I mean, watching this team. I mean, obviously you're still really close to it, but not being right there with them. Does it feel different?
Yeah, it felt different in the beginning for sure. You kind of feel like you lost a friend. Like all your boys are going to practice. You're like, all right, guys, catch you later. See you, Zach. See you, Brett. See you, JP. But then you get used to it because you get to see that. You get to see people like Ryan Hawkins get in the game and play after getting beat up all year last year. You get to see Ryan Welty step up into a new role, Tyler Doherty, and then you get to see Kirk Finley get out there and move the ball because he's a great mover. And then you get over it because you're just like, good thing that is something that I miss. And just like anything that's good, anything that you get to be a part of that's worth your time, you're just going to miss it. But as far as being like super sad about it, I'm more hyped than I am bummed out.
And you talk about that culture. You also played another team at Northwest that had a rich culture as well, as you played number 87, a wide receiver for the football team for a little bit. What was that like to play football for about a half a season for the football team and just be able to step on the football field and put the pads on for the first time since high school?
I'm curious, how did that come about first? I mean, did you just one day decide that you wanted to play football, or how'd that come about?
Well, right after the national championship game last year, we took a trip down to the Capitol to meet the governor and things like that. And I remember it was Rich Wright. He had his guys, and it was me, Zach, and Woods, and Cass Weidel, and Bevo. And we all went down there, and the whole trip was just a recruiting trip for Coach Wright, trying to get me to play. And I just didn't know what I was going to do this year. I didn't know whether I was going to get out of here and go to grad school or what, so I couldn't necessarily commit. But even as the year went on, this semester, they just kept saying things to me. Joe Quinlan would say something here, Joel would say something, and then I just thought, why not be adventurous and do it? Because they called me in one day, so I gave it a weekend. I went up and talked to Coach Wright, gave it a weekend, and I was like, I didn't tell my mom, didn't tell anyone. I was like, all right, I'm going to do it just for the adventure of it all. And I have a lot of good friends on the team anyway. So, and it turned out to be such an awesome experience.
How difficult was it, having not played football in a couple years, to put those pads on and go out there with guys that have won national championships?
Yeah, those dudes are real. It was very hard. It was super tough. Those guys are so good at their craft, man. And it's such a different game from basketball. Same type of athleticism, but it just comes out in different ways. On the basketball court, it's so under control, and it's cut here, cut there. Football, it's like you got to be powerful, quick, because like everything happens like that in 4 seconds. And if you're not open in 2, then you're not getting the ball. So. Stepping on the field with those dudes was a very humbling experience, to say the least.
But I got to say that I wasn't entirely surprised to see you do it, just because of watching the way that you played basketball. There was always the sense of that hunger to compete, that hunger to when you're going out there, you're giving everything that you have every second, all the time. So how much of your decision to play football and the experience you had was you just wanted to compete?
That was a big part of it. And over these past few years of my college experience, I've been telling myself, like, you're not going to have this forever. Might as well be adventurous about it. And I just hang my hat on my effort and what I'm willing to give. Yes, on the field, but more importantly off the field, culture-wise. And that was definitely a major factor, is that I just wanted to compete and give what I have.
And you were a good football player in high school. You were All-State, weren't you, along with All-State basketball? So it's not like you were really good in the first place. And basketball, you played pretty physical anyways.
Yeah.
Were you just wanting just one time just throw me a jump ball in the end zone, see if I can get this 5'10" corner?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
This is my rebound. I'm getting it.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. I was, but never me scoring a touchdown over the goals of the team. I was just happy to be a part of what they have going, and it is a very special thing. And there's a lot of things that you don't see about that team that go on throughout the week that is just super special.
So you played football and you played basketball. I was kind of surprised you didn't play baseball this spring too. I thought maybe.
Shoot. I was walking through the gym and Coach asked me, he was like, "You gonna put on a baseball uniform?" And I said, "No, no." Every time I throw a baseball, my arm pops.
I was gonna say, how long has it been since you played baseball?
I've never played baseball.
There you go.
Yeah, I love to play catch. Me and Zach play all the time, but no, there's no way.
I've used that like a sidearm pitcher, just getting down there just extra low and just sidearming it just for the heck of it. Just
I mean,
there's
there's
super long.
That you got tennis, there's track and field. I mean, there's still options.
There's golf.
But we don't have a men's golf team.
Oh, yeah, true.
Do a little track. No,
So
I'm gonna stay in my lane.
So going back to the basketball, this is whereas last year you guys were kind of a balance. You had some seniors and then you had some juniors too, like Justin and Chris. This is a pretty senior heavy lineup this year. Is there anyone that kind of sticks out to you next year that you're excited to see after Justin is gone and after Chris is gone and after Xavier's gone?
Don't forget about Brett.
And Brett, yeah, I
Put
forgot
respect
about
on
Brett.
his name.
Brett's my dude. Okay, so are you saying like just in general?
Yeah, is
Who's gonna
there
be a leader
anyone that
next year?
you're excited to see kind of break through next year?
All those boys. Those are my dudes. And they all have something different to add to the table. Now, obviously, JP, big shoes to fill. But what makes JP good is something that I see in all of them that in a different way. I'm excited to see what Welty does because obviously he's just been progressing. I just see him more aggressive and trusting himself a lot more and being put into different roles because Mac trusts him a lot. I'm excited to see him step up as a leader. Tyler Doherty, that dude's been working so much. And obviously Brett is such a veteran that it's hard to get in and steal some minutes from him. But Hawkins is a weapon if y'all haven't noticed.
Yeah.
A long, lanky weapon. And then our red shirt, he's going to do well. Both of them are working, but Trevor's got game. Don't tell him I said this. Don't tell him I said.
I see him in pregame. He got some hops there. He's just pretty explosive there as a 6-foot guard. He can get up there and he's pretty explosive.
He does. He's just a hooper at heart. He's a lot like JP. You see JP and he just makes it look super easy with his reads and different things like that. Trevor's is a lot like him. He's more like a bowling ball type hooper, and I'm excited to.
What's your plans after you leave here in Northwest? What are you planning on doing in the future if you have any of that figured out?
Man, I have no idea.
Don't worry, I don't
If
either.
you're listening
Asking the tough questions here, Devin.
Yeah. If you're listening to this broadcast, D'Vante Mosby needs a job. And
Hire this man.
I am willing to. No, I'm kidding.
I just love that I'm a year and a half away from graduating, and I feel the same way. So it makes me feel a lot better that he doesn't know.
All right, here's the deal. Here's what I'm learning. All right. Hang your hat on your effort. Like, as long as my effort is there and I'm not just going to graduate and forget how to work extremely hard, grind, then I'm fine. If there's if there's ever a time I feel like in our lives for us not to know exactly what's going on, it'd be right after college. So I'm not really worried too much about it. I'm just going to keep giving whatever falls on my plate maximum effort. Put my passion to it, and I know I'll find something to do. But I got a couple options, got a couple internships, a couple job offers, and also thinking about doing this 11-month thing where I'm traveling to a different country every month and doing mission trips that way. So just have a lot of things to pray through and talk to my mom about, and we'll see what I end up doing. Stay tuned.
So thank you, D'Vante, coming on the show
problem.
and sharing your story a little bit here and some insight in the men's basketball team. As we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the NFL. There's a lot of trades going down. A story just dropped where Jarvis Landry was traded. Find out where he was traded to next here on the Weekend Sports Kickoff. Thanks for stopping by for this week's edition of the Weekend Sports Kickoff. Watch our full interview with D'Vante Mosby. Great guest. It was right here. Make sure you check that out. D'Vante was terrific on the show. Bearcat Update as you cover on the results of the regional tournaments. Make sure you click right down here. And we're off next week for spring breaks, but we'll be back with quality content on March 26th here on the Weekend Sports Kickoff.